Hello, I'm Sherry Bilo, the community correspondent for the Western Wisconsin Journal. And this month I was having a hard time scheduling someone to interview, so I asked the folks on my Humans of Hudson Facebook page for some ideas, and I got an overwhelming response. It was awesome, thank you. My guest today came from that long list of suggestions. It's going to be another interesting and educational conversation because they are beekeepers, and you just don't come across beekeepers every day. I don't anyway. So I want to welcome my new friends, Jenny and Fred Hauser. Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's start by having you tell us why and how you got started in the beekeeping business.
Well, I was working at the St. Paul companies, and I worked with a fellow who was actually leaving the position that he was in to take over his dad's commercial beekeeping business. And ever since I was a kid, I was in 4-H, so I was always interested in agriculture, and talked to Joel a little bit and said, that might be something that I'd be interested in, and checked it out and took the course through the University of Minnesota. They have a weekend beekeeping course. And started off with one colony, and this is back in 2003, and that's where we're at today.
So how long is that course at U of M?
It's 2 days. It's 2 days over the weekend. They call it the short course to the U of M, and it's beekeeping in northern climates because we're sort of at the far northern edge of where it makes sense to keep bees all year round without transporting them somewhere. And they've got the U of M is a great resource. They've got a really good program, internationally known. Dr. Spivak. And they've got a whole set forth sort of program that they run and how to do it. And they have guides how to go ahead and get started in beekeeping. And that's what I took, back then when it wasn't as popular or as, in the forefront of the public's thought process is today. So
I looked up the term apiary is a collection of beehives or the bee yard, and so you are considered honey farmers or apiarists, is that correct?
Yep, apiarists, yep, absolutely.
Right. So how does beekeeping work then? Let's kind of go through the process.
Well, I'll start in January. If you have colonies that you've overwintered, which means that you're expecting them, they've got a good healthy queen going into the fall, you want to leave them enough food, close to 200 pounds of honey in this climate to survive, because that's what they eat during the winter. And in the spring you start seeing it, if they've survived through, like I said before, that even with the modern techniques that we have, their survival is not always guaranteed, especially with the diseases and mites that are around these days. And so you look and see if they survived, and if they didn't, there's an industry you can buy locally from Jim. We use Jim in Nature's Nectar in Stillwater, and he's got a good supplier of bees. And what they do is they take 2 pounds of bees that they actually weigh, they put them in a little cage with a queen that they've reared. And that's not the queen that's from the parent colony, but they put her in her own little cage, and they put her in the box. And it's a box that's got, they're using plastic now, but I just had
how many bees
screen
are
on
in
the inside.
Box? About 2,000.
Yeah, it's 5,000 somewhere in there. But they do it by the pound, is what it is. So you can either buy 2 or this year we're using 3 pounds. And they come from California on a truck. He drives all the way through. And by that time, because it's usually 2 days, hopefully the worker bees will have accepted the queen, because it's a long enough time, and especially if you see wax built up. And then what we do is we go through what we call the installation process, which is after you pick them up, you've got everybody's seen the rectangular wooden boxes that's called Langstroth hives, and inside there they've got frames. There's 10 per, and they'll either be, if you've had bees in there before, they'll have some wax on them, or they'll be just straight plastic with the hexagons printed on there, which the bees will eventually draw the wax out to. That's where the queen lays. That's where all the business of the hive takes place. But you take the queen, you put her in her pocket, take the other bees, they're kind of discombobulated, they don't know where their home is now, and you dump them. Actually, you do this in the evening, so they have less of a chance.
We have a new technique now where we let them sit in there and warm up the hive.
Right. Usually we pick them up from Jim's sometime in the afternoon or the morning, and we put them in during the day, and that actually warms up the,
Okay.
and it's April, so you don't know. We've had years where it's been 80 degrees and years where it's been, spitting snow
on
at
the
us.
ground.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're sort of running that. But when you actually install them, you just basically dump them all in there. You put some grass to block off the entrance, and then you release the queen.
Which is super fun.
Right, but it's kind of nerve-wracking because she's the only one who lays eggs, and
1,500 a day, I read.
yeah, oh yeah, that's all she does. Once she's been bred, that's all she does during her lifespan. I mean, she gets fed.
So yeah, we have 12 hives we're going to be picking up on April 17th,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
At Jim's in Stillwater, so I have that whole week off.
Is there one queen per hive?
Yep, one
Do you
queen,
name
yeah.
them because they're so
No.
special?
No.
I sometimes will joke and say, well, hello, a little 200,000 for,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So-
yeah, and then we basically we install them, and then we leave them alone for a week, and then you go back and you want to check them all just to make sure that the queen is healthy. She's laying eggs, and you actually can see them inside the cells. They look like little tiny grains of rice, and if 7 to 10 days, there'll also be larvae that have started to grow, and then basically you leave them alone for quite a while. If they're something that's overwintered, we've already started feeding the ones that have made it through the winter. We've had 4 out of the 15 that survived this cold up and down snaps that we've
Mother
had.
Nature was not
Yeah,
nice
it was
this
not
year.
nice, and that's the real. It's funny because Jen, we lost 3.
And
Going
then I
into
went in.
January, and the rest of them looked really good.
Yep, I
but
checked
this
them
up
and fed
down-
them and.
Yeah, this up and down is real hard on them, especially late spring, because the queen starts laying as the days get longer, and then what's left of the worker bees, they will cluster when it gets cold around the queen, and they won't have any food. And if they stay there, they starve out, is what happens.
So that's what happened.
So, and then it's weekly checks, and then in May, if you have an overwinter colony, we do what's called a divide, which is we basically swarm for them. We buy another queen, take a box that's full of bees and larvae that doesn't have the queen, and then we move that to the other side, and put the new queen in, usually wait 7, 10 days, release her, and then you've got a new one, and then you run the other one at full strength. And that's the U of M's style of management, and what that does is it ensures that you've got a strong, healthy queen in each colony, which is really important, especially now with all the diseases.
Yep. So
And then let's see what else. The whole year. It's and then once July rolls around, we start getting ready for honey harvest. We'll be placing supers, there's a grate that keeps the queen out. And when they filled up for their winter stores, you start adding boxes on, and that's the honey that we harvest.
Okay.
Then, yep. So July and August we do that, and then we get them ready for the winter come November, usually Thanksgiving weekend. So
You talked about worker bees, and they're all female, right?
Yep.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm just going
Right.
to leave that alone. And then the male
drones.
drone bees, they don't have stingers, right? But just the
And they mate with the queen.
Yep, that's all they do is they eat and they hang around to mate with the queen.
and the worker bees are the ones with the
The
stinger.
females.
Yep.
But if they sting you,
They die.
yes. I was doing my research.
Yes, very good.
Why don't you talk about some of the things that you brought here today? I know what this is.
Here's some essential tools for beekeeping.
This is the most important. You can do nothing without your hive tool.
And that's what you call it, a hive tool.
A hive tool, yes, because the bees, if you notice, like you see,
Yeah.
you see that sticky stuff. I tried to clean it up, but that's propolis, and it's a glue that they make to glue everything together, and it's like a waxy cement. And if you forget this at home, and you're, if we're at one of our hives, say we went to River Falls to check the hives, we wouldn't be able to get in them.
Okay.
And that's a hive tool. The smoker we use to just, it calms them down. We just smoke them a little bit, and it makes them go back down into the frames if
They start eating honey is what they start doing.
Yep, and
I read that has to do with the fact that they communicate through chemical sense. And so they get, like you said, calmed down.
Yep. So the smoke, it calms them down. It makes them go back into the bee frames so we can, yes.
Access more easily.
Yep,
Okay.
it makes it easier.
And normally, when we do it, we always try to, when we're actually going in, we wait for a sunny day. That way, the worker bees, the field bees, they're out doing their thing, and they're usually
not as many.
They're usually more aggressive. We squirt some smoke in the front, and then also when we lift up.
We try not to
And
over
you've got most of the nurse bees, and they calms them down.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
What else?
Then, of course, my gloves and my ever so dirty bee suit.
Right.
But you'll see, I don't know, that's just
Yeah,
stuff.
the most important thing is usually the veil, because even you will get a colony every now and then that's a little bit more aggressive,
Yeah.
and they'll bump into you, and they usually are up around your face. I mean,
It was last summer. We went to check one of the colonies that overwintered, and there was probably in the middle of summer, I don't know, there can be up to 200,000 bees at that time. And I think they were the Italian bees. It was a hot morning already. I had on shorts and like a tank top, all of this on, and we went to open the hive, and they were not happy. And they got me they got my leg through the bee suit.
Wow.
And once they sting you, they leave a pheromone. And even Fred said, you know what, we're leaving them alone. And we had to go so many yards out and so many yards over so they'd quit following us. And we left them alone that day.
We actually stopped and went back and cleaned up the
Yep.
suit, because
Yeah, I got the scent off it, and yeah, they were
Did you
not
get
happy.
stung
I got
multi-
stung a couple of times in
Okay.
my leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get stung very often?
I mean, we get stung usually
No,
once,
not
twice,
often.
3 times a year. I mean, if you're
Throughout-
careful,
Yeah.
You
Throughout
know.
all these years, I've only been stung that.
yeah, 3 or 4
Time,
times, yeah.
really.
So
You just make sure everything's zipped. I always double check, so everything's closed
and
up
you're careful,
tight.
and you move slow, and you
You move slow.
and,
And don't
you
bang
try
things
and you
around.
try not to crush them when you're opening up the
Yep.
frames, and and
try to
normally if
do
they've got a
it
nice healthy queen, they're usually
Happy.
pretty calm. No, but like the one that Jen was talking about was one that we'd overwintered, and I think the queen
was
was
plumb
sick.
full.
Yeah, it was plumb full, and it was hard to work.
Yep.
So
And this
So I collect my own beeswax. That's
little
Yep.
flower with a bee.
Yep, and I make solar beeswax melters. It's a natural way of using the sun to melt the wax and get the dirty wax off it, which is called slum gum, which that stays on top, and then the beautiful wax melts to the bottom, and I collect it. And beeswax burns nice and slow, clean, so you have no oils in it, or it's fun to do. It's really fun to do. And then
Little snowman stacker one. And what's this?
And then this is one of my natural hand lotions. I just make out of coconut oil and beeswax, and I just put a little cinnamon on top. And of course, you can have this one when we're done, and you can. It's a natural hand lotion. It's beautiful.
And you said honey doesn't
Go bad.
ever.
yeah.
No.
Yep, it's
It's a
got
natural
very it's got antibiotic properties.
Yep.
And there's one honey, especially out of New Zealand, that's a special type that has been proven. I mean, they've done clinical trials on it, and they use that for really bad burns.
They keep it in
Yeah.
trauma wards.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's so full of antiseptics, and so this is some of mine. We keep our own little stash, and this was a bottle that a friend of mine gave me. So, and
you're
I
going to
will
let me
you-
taste that?
Yes. Oh yes.
It says bees are the only insect in the world that make food that humans can eat.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me as well. We covered kind of the bees themselves, the queen, the workers, and the drones. What's their life cycle?
Well, I mean,
Or-
and people always ask
girls,
about what
the
the
workers.
length and of their time. It's 21 days from the time that they're laid till they go from a larvae to an adult
Okay.
bee. And then starting a 1-week process, they start getting different jobs inside of the colonies, the worker bees do.
Nurse bees.
And they
guard
start off
bees.
as nurse bees, and then they
Scouts.
cleaning out cells, and then they move on to taking in nectar and pollen and packing into cells and for making wax. And then they turn to guard bees, which they guard. You actually see them outside on the floor where the entrance is, making sure nothing gets in that.
Like you'll see like a moth, flutter.
Oh, okay. And
Like,
they have,
I went to
Yeah,
that.
and they let them have it. And then the final step is the field bee, and they basically during the summer
Work themselves to
they're
death.
death. Yeah, it's about 3 weeks, and that's it. They basically burn
Everything
themselves out.
they do is for the good of the colony.
Yeah, the colony is more
Always.
of a whole. It's not about
Yeah.
the individuals.
Yeah. So when you hear about like the colony collapse disorder, why the bees are dying, they really don't know. But when a bee gets sick, instead of saying infecting the hive, they fly off.
okay. And tell us why they're so important.
They provide us 1/3 of our food crop, all of our fruits, certain vegetables.
Yep, a lot of the fruits, most anything that came from especially Europe and Asia is honeybee dependent because they're so because of the way that they work, meaning that they'll send scout bees out in the morning, you'll see them, that they'll be, when the light starts hitting, starts warming up, you'll see the bees taking off at all points of the compass, and they come back and say, hey,
They
I
do a
found
waggle
nectar
dance,
here.
it's
Yeah,
called.
they do a waggle dance.
And I do
You'll
have a
see them
video
all
of that.
take off in the same direction. You'll have colonies that are right next to each other, and you'll see one colony will be going north, the other will be going southeast, wherever
And they
they're
leave
going.
a pheromone. So
Yeah,
all
and they also
the
think
bees,
with the they also think with the waggle dance. It's the,
scientists they're still trying to figure out the,
But they think, it's also the position of the sun.
Yeah.
And it comes down to a generalized, they think somewhere within like a yard or two of where it is. And because they're able to communicate so well, they're so good at what they do. So you can put colonies into an apple orchard and ensure that you've got good pollination. And what that does is it makes the fruit, the trees grow better. It also has bigger and better fruit. And
Well, when we
your
moved
harvest is
out to
much
our
better.
house, we didn't even know we had apple trees until we got bees. No apples. Nothing ever bloomed. We never got fruit. And then once we got bees, all of a sudden we're like, there's another apple tree. So
Yeah, it's my dad's old. Yeah, our house is my dad's old horse
they're
pasture.
volunteer trees from the
Yeah, and you feed horses enough apples, you wind up with apple trees. And we never knew it, and that shows the dearth of pollinators that are around, and that's why they're so important. It's not just what they pollinate directly too. You also have like alfalfa and clover fields. They benefit from the honeybees being there, so you get more hay per acre, so you're able to feed cows and other livestock cheaper off of I mean, it all comes down to a numbers game, and that's why they're a keystone species. They really are. And modern agriculture is based on it. So unless you want
So
to,
they're very complex and busy. busy.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
yeah. I mean, they're absolutely amazing.
From morning until evening.
You said that you're learning from him, and you talked about your dream. What do you want to see happen in the future?
To have enough beehives, we do want to have a honey house. That's where all the extraction will be done, and I can have a room for my candle making, and have a store where things, the honey and everything can be sold, and
Sort of a retirement.
Yeah.
A retirement income.
and there is absolutely nothing better than working outside.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, just to go outside, it's dirty. I mean, you saw the bee suit, and there's nothing glamorous about it. But you're outside, and they're
You're doing good
amazing.
for the world.
Well, yeah, and you're outside,
I
and
mean-
you're tuned in. And what's funny is when I started this, you don't realize how far away from the natural rhythms of the world that you are living, in the United States today. And the bees, they don't care I mean, they follow that, and they don't care, what's going on with, the election or anything like that. I mean, the residents of the earth, and when it warms up and how light the days are getting, and when it's going to get cold. I always know when the first big hard frost is coming. You were talking about the female worker bees. You can usually tell if it's going to get cold in October because as mean as it sounds, the worker bees kill off the drones.
They do every fall.
Every fall. They rip off their wings and throw them out because all they are is worthless mouths to feed. They're worthless. Exactly. They're not doing any
Another
work.
joke that I'm not going to touch.
Isn't it funny?
So, but I mean, you can tell that, but they're so, in tune, and it makes you, you're going back to more.
We think we're so smart, but
Right, exactly.
just amazing.
Yeah, they really are. So.
And in the spring, we love when the flowers are bloomed on the trees. We'll stand under the trees and just hear the buzz, and you can see them just flying. Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's really,
it really is. And they'll go up to 6 miles to pollinate.
I read too that in their whole lifetime, they make about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they work hard. They work so
exactly,
hard.
Exactly.
How much have you made as far as gallons of?
We had our best year last year,
100 gallons.
which was 100 gallons.
And we always do 2 extractions.
And you sold out.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. I mean,
we've got quite the following, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we
You
sell
have
out.
more now.
well,
Because everybody will want
and people have asked, you go to farmers markets? I'm like, it's a good problem, but we can't. Our first one was 20 gallons last year, and that was filled with orders. And the second one was 80 gallons, and I really love it too. We put the table at the end of the drive, sit out there, and the people stop by.
Our neighbors, and they'll stop by and they say, we've been waiting. We've been waiting for you guys.
And it's so fun because then, the chickens are wandering around, and, and people come from Minnesota every year for our honey.
And the one thing that,
You meet so many people.
Social media has been a big boom for us too. Just
when I
getting
started the
word out,
Facebook page, the Hauser Apiaries.
Hauser Apiary Facebook page.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been absolutely
So
remarkable.
fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but
Yeah, and the work is it's all condensed, and it's like anything with farming, where when it's harvest time, that's it. You're going, and you're going till it's done.
Don't ask.
And there's a lot of glamour when it's 90-some degrees, and you're trapped inside the honey, house,
Sticky,
sticky,
and 2,000 bees flying around you, and
but we have fun. We
And you
enjoy it.
share your knowledge. You go to
Yep.
the hospital.
And Fred has helped get 2 people into beekeeping. Yeah.
And then you at the state park.
Yeah, we do yearly. We do sort of a about 2-hour talk on, and we've got a PowerPoint presentation that we give on sort of basically what the beekeeping year is, and
And I always end
what
up
we
giving
do.
away, like at the state park, I always have a trivia question, and whoever
Right.
answers it and is listening through the
Right.
thing, they get a bottle of honey.
Absolutely. So and then we also here in Hudson, we're contracted with the Hudson Hospital that we provide beekeeping services. They actually own the colonies up at the community garden, and then we also do
So we
talk to them about things that are going on and get feedback from them on how it's worked out, and it's been a good partnership. We've really liked it. I know that the Hudson, we've only gotten positive feedback from that, and I know that they said their gardens have been much better. I mean, it's absolutely amazing how like the vetch and clover on that hillside where they carved it out has grown. I mean, it looked like a jungle back there last year just because you're back in balance. You've got the pollination, you've got things as they should be, and it's absolutely
That's great. It really is.
absolutely amazing. And the other nice thing that we enjoy about with the hospital is when we go over our contracted amount, because we take some of our harvest from there for ourselves, and then whatever's left over we buy back, and we were able to give it was almost $250 to the foundation.
Very nice.
For the
So
children's,
Very
for the children's.
Yep.
That feels good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely wonderful.
Can I try that right
Yep.
now before? What do you love most about beekeeping? The highlight.
I like, I like being outside. I really do. And like I'd said, that you're in touch with, the world, and you're not so much away from it as much as what you normally are in this technological
you're gonna
society.
love it.
And I also, I really like the whole thing. I like the work, and you gotta like the work.
Very yummy. It's
Quite a
good
bit
for you
different,
too,
yeah.
isn't it?
Good for
It's-
you.
it's quite a bit
It's
different,
good
too.
for you. It, it has the antiseptics. It is, people will always ask, is it raw honey? Yes. Of course, the only thing we do is we strain it twice through a metal strainer and then through a fine cloth with the metal strainer just to get bee parts out, wax out, and that's it. There's no heating.
Right.
Nothing. Once
lot of-
it's strained, it
yeah.
sits, and then we bottle the next day.
We get a lot of people who say that they've had
And-
honey, mellow honey. And when you're a large producer, the easiest way to do it is you heat the honey up, and then you run it through the filters, and you lose a little bit of that taste.
Okay.
And you're also taking, you also have to realize that the big packers are buying honey from guys like myself, and so you're getting honey from South Dakota, North Dakota,
and it's
all
all
over the
mixed
place.
together.
So it's all mixed together. So you sort of have this
So-
bland kind of taste, where this is all from one floral source
Yeah.
at a certain time.
And we do 2 extractions so
Right.
people can get the different flowers.
Yep, and every year is different too. It's absolutely amazing, how much water we've gotten. What's been blooming. Is it the year that the white sweet clovers?
And you
really
can tell,
picked?
this honey's a little lighter. They must have been on the clover. This,
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
So when I asked you what the challenges were, weather, you're
Weather.
dependent weather.
is the biggest.
Weather, and then I mean, like every other
Well,
beekeeper, the mites, and
the mites.
the whole everything that's causing
You
the
know,
problems
and,
with the bees.
and I would never want to tell people how to take care of their gardens or their fruit trees. If people have asked, when should I, spray something? We ask, in the evening when the bees are back at their hives, or early in the morning.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've
Yeah.
got. We've got colonies that we've had on our neighbor's apple orchard for years, and Bob has been very good and very conscious about which way the wind's blowing, and then do it in the evening so
Yep.
that the field bees are not on there, and it gives it that
Time.
a chance to
If you
be
have to
absorbed,
spray,
yeah.
if you're having problems, yeah.
So if people want to order your honey, where do they?
Facebook.
From the Facebook page.
Facebook page, and they'll give our phone numbers on there. You can certainly call. We take orders. I mean, we have honey that has gone to Egypt. We have honey that's gone to Japan, Scotland, Germany, and then we've shipped all throughout the United States. Hauser Apiaries on Facebook. Our phone number's on there. You can message us. You'll
Yeah,
certainly.
that's normally how
Yep,
we
yep.
do a posting where we
Yep.
say that we're going to start taking orders.
Yep.
Message us, because then we build our
Yep.
spreadsheets, because we've got enough people
Yep.
that we've got to be able to keep it straight, somehow
Lots of fun.
organized.
Lots of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When a bee is in your hand, what's in your eye?
When a bee's in your hand.
Beauty.
I was going to say an
Because
apple.
beauty is in the eye of the beeholder.
Oh, nice.
Funny.
That is so good.
Thank you
Dang.
guys so
Yeah.
much
Thank you,
for joining
Sherry.
me today. I
Yes.
learn so much every time I do this, and you were very gracious to come.
And you're
share
welcome to come out
your knowledge.
anytime this summer. And,
Yeah, take a look at
it's a lot of fun. People stop by, especially when the orders are ready.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck this year.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.